What's up, everybody? Sober day number 15, and today I'm going to tell you the story of how alcohol literally took my freedom away. What's up, everybody? My name's Eric, and I'm an alcoholic.
Come on.
This is a story that I was going to wait for a future date to tell you guys, but I figured with this being a holiday weekend and this story kind of coinciding with another holiday weekend, I figured now is as good as a time as any. So it was January 1st, 2016. Me and my best friend were going up to Lake George to do the annual polar plunge, something we had done for a few years in a row. It kind of became tradition. He had actually started the tradition a few years before that with some other people, then became mine and his thing because other people stopped going with him. And on this particular year, just like every other year, it's get as drunk as you can as quick as possible because you're going to have to go into freezing ice cold water to do the polar plunge. Day was going fine. It was going great. We even had a plan. We had a hotel lined up so that way we could get really, really drunk and stay overnight and come home the next morning. Fast forward to end of the night. I forget what bar we were at, but it was up there in Lake George. It was well into the late evening hours. They usually have a band that plays. And so we went down and watched the band. I continued getting really, really drunk. And I eventually fall asleep, from what I'm told, at the bar. Very rare, by the way, this happens. Usually I outlast everybody, but on this particular day, I did not. I end up getting kicked out of the bar for sleeping. It's not funny, but it kind of is. But I end up getting kicked out of the bar for sleeping. And this is where the story gets a little hairy for me. I don't know how I ended up in my vehicle. I remember where I was parked, and I remember this just because obviously I parked sober in the day. I had parked right on the main strip. The hotel was in that direction. I'm assuming I saw my car and decided to jump in. I end up getting all the way to Interstate 87, which is actually not that far, running over something in the road, getting 2 flat tires. And under normal circumstances, I would have just changed 1 tire, went on my way. But because I had 2 flat tires, I was not able to change 2 tires because you only have 1 spare in your car. So I called the tow truck. And this actually probably saved my life because I don't think I would have made it home that day. While waiting for the tow truck, I fall asleep in the car. Got my hazards on. An officer comes up, knocks on my window just to check, see if I was okay. My first sentence out to him, he knew instantly that I was drunk. I was arrested for DWI. Got a good lawyer. Everything was going good. This was my second DWI in my life. The last one had come years prior, but because it was my second, it was charged a little more seriously. The lawyer worked out a great deal for me to get probation. I figured, hey, I'm not a bad guy. I can make it through probation. One of my terms and conditions of probation was that there was no drinking to be allowed, no alcohol in my house. And also, another term and condition of that probation was I was not allowed to drive. For the most part, I didn't really ever drive. I'd only driven like 4 or 5 times, but I did continue drinking all the time. I never gave that up. Matter of fact, I figured out a way to work the system because I had random tests because the state of New York actually makes you do state mandated like counseling, drug and alcohol counseling. And I'd convinced my counselor to let me go. I only had to go twice a week. I convinced her to let me go Thursday and Friday morning. So that way I could drink Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all the days I wanted. I just had to make sure that I didn't drink 3 days before I went in because the ETG test they do to test for alcohol shows up for no more than 80 hours. Everything was going decently. My plan was working. And within 2 years of being on probation, they kind of noticed that I was drinking alcohol by finding empty cans at my house whenever they stopped by to visit. They had found alcohol in my fridge on a few occasions. I would lie and say that it wasn't mine, that my wife had brought some home when she was hanging out with some friends when I'd be working on the weekends. I then made the very bad mistake of driving. I was sober, but I drove. This is one of the, like I said, 5 times that I drove while on probation. and I happen to get caught for a brake light being out. The officer pulls me over. I explained to him that I was on probation at the time for DWI. He was just happy to see that I wasn't drunk. They were dealing with a lot of other things that night, so he allowed me to park my vehicle and told me, do not pick it up. Make sure somebody else comes and gets it in the morning. He would not tow me and to walk away. I did that. Well, I told my PO the next day what had happened, and she said because I was honest, they weren't going to violate me, so I felt relief. Within a few hours, I get a phone call from her saying, Eric, I talked to my supervisor, and unfortunately, my supervisor does want to violate you for this based on the fact that you have been drinking alcohol again in the recent past. Remember, they had started finding alcohol in my house. But again, I still wasn't too worried. She said she was going to have my back and be on my side, which I appreciated. She was very nice. I went to court with my lawyer. The judge also was being very nice. He said, listen, I'm going to delay sentencing. Don't get in trouble between now and 6 weeks from now, and I'll go ahead and reinstate your probation. I didn't listen once again. Kept drinking. Got away with it too until 4 days before I was supposed to go to court. 4 days before I went to court, I got really drunk, and the police got involved. Short story of it is, I got arrested. It was notated in the arrest that I was drunk. And I went in front of the judge 4 days later. Now, in the meantime, I had talked to my attorney, and my attorney told me, Eric, listen, you got nothing to worry about. You're not a bad guy. You just got a drinking problem. We'll be okay. We'll talk to the judge today. No big deal. Matter of fact, his direct quote was, Eric, who's got your back? I'll never forget it. I was like, you do. We go into court, and very quickly I notice things are going not so well. The judge is definitely not in a good mood. My lawyer is trying to talk. He's shutting my lawyer up. And I just keep looking at my lawyer. My lawyer's looking back at me. The judge is talking. And within about 45 seconds, when he had said a bunch of stuff, and I don't even remember what half it was, they were putting handcuffs on me. And I realized that he had just revoked my probation and instituted his new punishment and resentenced me to 9 months in the county jail. So just like that, I was taken away from my family, my friends, my business, and all because I chose alcohol over it all. Guys, like I said, this weekend is a holiday weekend. Don't make the same mistake that I did, especially nowadays with Uber. Uber's here. It's so easy to get a ride and not drink and drive. I wish I could take it back, but I can't. Once again, thank you guys so much. Please make sure you guys subscribe and like this video, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.